It's Thursday, and that means it is my favorite day of the week because we're talking Ninja Turtles here at Digital Charcuterie. Give us a subscribe if you like Ninja Turtles. If you don't like Ninja Turtles, we also talk about other things here as well. But every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're talking Ninja Turtles. TMNT Power. Joining me today once again is Andrew Fantasia, who does not like Ninja Turtles. He's more of a Battletoads kind of guy. Andrew, what's up?
Hey, I'm doing really well. I'd be doing better if we would talk about something other than the Ninja Turtles, though. What are my chances of that today?
Well, we might actually do Bucky O'Hare Fridays. Did you ever watch Bucky O'Hare?
No, I know the theme song pretty well, though. Once that hits you, it does not let go.
It doesn't. I had Bucky O'Hare jogging pants with all the characters down my left leg. It was pretty awesome. I love.
And now
Bucky
you own a rabbit, so you have come full circle.
Yeah, and his name is Jackson. His name is Carlos. I don't know where he is. We took him to the vet this morning, and he is not happy with me whatsoever. But let's get right into the show today. Rise of the TMNT is hitting our screens. Our television sets are little small 50-inch to 60-inch television sets. They aren't what they used to be. Those old 13 inches that I watched Ninja Turtles on don't exist anymore. And it's coming in September. But before that, in July, we are going to be getting a prequel of sorts comic book, or a tie-in comic. This was announced last week. Now, it's funny because I think it was last week or the week before. We compared this to more. After we saw the trailer, we were like, I thought it'd be Teen Titans Go looking, but the tone was all DuckTales looking. And you know what DuckTales did before their series premiered? They gave us a comic, a tie-in comic book. So, what are your thoughts on the tie-in comic? Do you think you'll purchase the tie-in comic if you're going to watch the show?
Not in that order, if it happens. I've never been on board with the whole buying a tie-in to a big property before I see the property. Like, I remember Gareth Edwards' Godzilla had like this big tie-in comic that everybody was talking about. I think the same thing happened with Pacific Rim. I could be wrong, but I never liked that idea because I always found like I'd rather watch the thing first. I'd rather watch the main course. And if I get obsessed with it, which I tend to do with some things, then I can go back and be like, wow, what happened right before this episode? You know, what else can I learn about these characters? Because I'm hungry now. But if you try to, you know, serve me these extra toppings before I'm hungry, I'm just going to be like, can I just wait for the burger before you start throwing relish at me? You know what I mean? So I'm going to hold off until I see this show, until I get a few episodes under my belt. And if I think, you know, I like this is hopping, I want to know more about these turtles, then yeah, I'll take a look at the comic.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know you, which, you know, a lot of people on here probably won't. He's Andrew Fantasia from the Andrew Fantasia YouTube channel. You have a very, very obsessive personality. And I mean that in a nice way. You do, though. I remember we were at Toronto Fan Expo last year, and you were telling me stories, and you hunt. You're one of those fanboys, collectors. You hunt for what you need. You don't just. You're not like me. I'm like, I kind of want that, and if I don't get it, that's fine. If I get it, that's great. But you're like, I need that, and I'm going to do whatever I can in my power to get that.
And that's not a lot of power, mind you. So usually it's, I hope I walk over to that booth before somebody gets there first. But yeah, when I go to places like that, I'll kind of have like a mental tally in my head. I'll be like, okay, here are some things that I would really like to get that I could probably only get here. So I'm going to look for those first. And if they're under X amount of dollars, they're mine. And if not, I'll just stare at them forlornly like Charlie Bucket and hope somebody takes pity on me as they walk by.
Get your golden ticket.
Yeah.
And hope for the best. But look, for me, this is from the writers of the Batman Ninja Turtle crossover that happened. It's kind of cool stuff. So, you know, they're keeping it in the family. It's going to have that look, obviously, of the new Rise of the TMNT show, which still there's that huge fan divide on. For me, I'm kind of on board with it. I don't know. As a mid-30s, almost late 30s kind of guy, I'm like, yeah, I could totally. It's not like it's. They understand. Like, I think the brilliant thing with Turtles is it kind of understands that, you know, it has 30-year-old fans for 30 years, but it also has to have the young fans, which we've talked about. And this show is not for me as much as I'd like it to be. And I might really, really enjoy this show. I hope I really enjoy this show. But I think from what I've seen, from what they've been putting together, it doesn't look like they've been like, you know who needs to watch the show is a 35 and up crowd. That's who's going to be sitting at home on like a Saturday morning watching this show. So I don't, the style doesn't really affect me. The humor, hopefully that they'll have some stuff for me, kind of like the new DuckTales does. And hopefully it's not what my nieces and nephew watch a lot of the time, which is just like color, 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 and like there's no depth, and you're just like, I don't know what just happened for the last 10 minutes, but I have a headache and I need sugar. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, no, you keep bringing up the new DuckTales, and that's such a good point. Like, that show, man, it's so funny. It's funnier than, like, some episodes of, like, Simpsons and Bob's Burgers that I've seen. Like, it is just a funny show, and it's consistent, too, and it's really good, and it's a perfect example of something for all ages. So if this is going down that road, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Why not? I mean, it's the Turtles, but we're gonna keep the show rolling here and this topic's gonna roll into the next one. 15 years ago today, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 2003 animated series fought Shredder for the very first time. You text me, said, I can't believe that show's even 15 years old. It is kind of nuts. It is a 15-year-old show. And when you go back and you watch, you're like, wow, this is a good show. And then you watch the next one, you're like, that's also a good show. So the question that I beg to ask is, why do they keep feeling the need to reboot the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Is it not possible? And we talked about this a few weeks ago. For me, the next film, I really wish they would do what Jurassic Park has done. They do what Star Wars has done. Star Trek to a degree did this. And this is the world we're living in, where they like, this is a continuation of this movie. You know, Alien almost did that. Blomkamp's Alien wanted to do it, where you just, oh, that movie you didn't like, that doesn't exist. This is Terminator's doing it now. The new Terminator is being called Terminator 3 at the moment. It'll probably change, obviously, but that's where they're going with it. Like, is there a need to keep rebooting it for the younger, newer audiences? Do you think they're doing it too often?
I think it's a little too often at this point. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a novelty when the 2012 show came out, and it's like, oh, there's a CG Ninja Turtles cartoon now. That's neat, because the 2003 show was sort of after my time, and I was in high school at that point, and I was like, oh, whatever, Ninja Turtles was not on my radar, and I've only started watching it recently, and it is a damn good show, but I don't. Excluding the first cartoon, I have not seen the ends, the finales of either of the following cartoons. And if you have, maybe you can explain to me, like, did they have did they end on like an ending note, or did they kind of just do what all cartoons do and just have a regular Joe Schmo episode and then be like, oh, by the way, we got canceled, so that's it?
That's a great question. I think they just kind of end. I haven't seen the ending of the 2012 series yet, which just kind of happened. I think it ended, though, but I haven't got that far yet because, as you pointed out, it's kind of hard to find them. So I've been I've been watching them online and weaving it out. If you guys know where to find them, please link in below, because I'd love to finish that season, because I really enjoy that series, but I feel like I've seen the same 5 episodes a billion times, and some of them I've only seen like once or twice. But the 2003 series was really, really good. It lasted quite a while. And it was nice to see that, okay, they're going CG. They went CG, it made sense. And maybe it's just a sign of the time, and they're like, you know what, the times have changed. Kids are going to watch this. It's too expensive to produce. Let's rebrand it, reboot it, I should say. With this, it's the turtle. We mentioned this a few weeks ago too. Is the Turtles have only ever been off the air for 4 years, 4 or 5 years after the debacle of the Next Mutation happened. They went off the air and kind of disappeared from mainstream until the 2003 series surfaced. So I could see why they're like, okay, this show isn't cutting any more views out there, it's costing too much to produce, but Turtles can't go away. People love Turtles, let's do a cheaper version of it. But look, the voice cast of Rise I think it's great. I really like the way they sound.
You know what? After I watched the trailer for Rise, like, I never kind of went back to it, so I totally forget what everybody sounds like. But I remember when the 2012 show was announced, I still remember, like, clear as day, I was in line for Toronto Fan Expo and, like, reading about it. and there was a list of the cast, and I was like, oh my god, like Samwise Gamgee is gonna be, I think he was like Raphael or something, and I was like, that, yeah, I was just like, this cast is phenomenal. And I remember my friend standing next to me was like, oh, I hope they make like a million Hobbit references in this show now. What's pizza, precious? But that cast I remember was a lot more standout for me. This one, I remember reading it, I'm like, okay, John Cena, and then some people I don't really know, but that's cool. And like they've always kind of, with cartoons, you might get that where it's like one person who's like a big like household name, and everything else is just like typical voice actors and things like that. So I wasn't super wowed by this new crew yet. Let's hear how they sound first.
Yeah, I like them, so I'm gonna go on a completely different page than you, because I actually really do enjoy who they got here. But back on the rebooting and whatnot, the 2003 show ends, 2012 comes. Do you think John Cena was their way of saying, hey guys, we got a name here, don't worry about how it's going to look? Could you think they were worried about the reaction to the appearance of the Turtles?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Because you're making such a tonal shift. Not only are you going from computer generated to hand-drawn cartoons, but you're making the Turtles more cartoony than they've ever been. Like we talked about in a few episodes back, cartoons from our day when we were kids, they tried to make the characters look like humans. And nowadays that's out the window, and everything is very distorted. It's almost like a Picasso painting. And the new look is so different. Like if you put a side by side, Donatello 2018 with Donatello 1986, they don't look like they come from the same planet. So I think that with animation being a factor, with the shift from 3D to 2D being a factor, yeah, these people were probably terrified. Like, are we making the right choice here? Or is this, should we be worried that maybe the brand needs to, pop more with people? Because how long was the 2012 show even on for? It didn't last, did it? Like, what, 4 years?
5 years, 4 or 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
So, yeah, I mean, granted, that's, that for a cartoon, that's chunky, but to pop one out again so fast, I think they needed that, like, look, here's what we've done to make this special. Here's what we've done to justify what we're doing. Here's John Cena.
Here's John Cena. The thing that's cool about Ninja Turtles, though, is, and I think Turtles Forever is the one that kind of put this in the front of the mindset, is all these different varieties, these different versions of the Turtles that we're getting, all exist in different dimensions and different universes in a way, where there's a Turtleverse, right? And they all kind of start with the original comic and branch out. So that's something that you can always kind of get away with when you change the Turtles. Be like, yeah, but this is that dimension. Don't worry about that. We'll come back to the right one anytime. I like the way they did that. For me, though, look, I'm looking forward to the show. I'm going to watch it. The 2003 show, I was in college. I did not really, I was like, I like Turtles, obviously, but I was like, these aren't my Turtles, #not my Turtles. Because I was just, they didn't look like my Turtles. Like, that's the Turtles I grew up with. And then my friend said, no, you need to watch this show. It's actually a good show. And that's when I gave it a shot. So that was like 2004 or 5. I finally gave it a shot, and I really enjoyed what I saw. It was harder to find them back then because the internet, well, I wasn't really, I don't think I knew how to find things on the internet back then. So I think my friend had to send me links. He's like, check it out here. I'm like, what? Pop-up ads. So that's how I watched that show. But 15 years ago today, the Turtles fought their main bad guy, the Shredder. Do you remember that episode? I do, because I only started watching this show recently, like within the past year. I started going through it. I think I'm on season 3 now, and yeah, A, I'm impressed. Much more impressed than I thought it would be. B, yeah, that Shredder episode, them fighting him for the first time, it's so much more faithful to the comics, the whole build-up where Leo meets him when he's out training and
the Foot assault him, and then they're like, oh, there's some big guy out there, and he's got a scar, and he's a meanie, and we got to deal with him. And Splinter's like, maybe wait before you deal with him, because I may or may not know him, and he's bad news. And they just kind of keep building him up. He's a much more terrifying presence than he was in the Technodrome back in our time. So they played with him, and they played with the scariness of him.
Yeah, I love that. My favorite Shredder is definitely the first Ninja Turtle movie. I think that Shredder is a lot of fun, and I think they nailed what I like. But this is, I just can't believe it's been 15 years since this show. Because this is 15 years, and that means Next Mutation is like 20 years.
Yeah.
Venus de Milo is 20 years old. You ever think
and then what does that say about the turtles from your shirt, who are basically our OGs? Like, that's practically
they're not teenagers anymore.
I know that's practically a period piece now.
Well, actually, when you watch it, you brought this up. It is a period piece. That 1980s Earth is definitely a period piece for sure. But look, the turtles are gonna be around forever, no matter. And the point of this whole thing is to keep rebooting them. But it's not like a Spider-Man movie getting rebooted. For some reason, they reboot the turtles. The fan outcry, fan cheers, fan jeers, all of that stuff happens. But everyone's back on board. And everyone's going to be back on board when they reboot them again in a couple of years. The turtles, they've transcended time and space. They are their own thing. They're never going to go away. And I think even though this one looks nothing like the last one or any other turtle we've seen before, I think it's going to have success because of the brand Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's something about the brand that people are drawn to even after 34 years later. We're all still mesmerized by pizza eating mutated teenage turtles. It is bizarre.
And you know what? The best example of honestly, my favorite example of that, what you just said, is right behind you, that book. Because every turtle on the cover of that book is a different iteration. And when you stick them together on that rooftop, you know, it doesn't look wrong. It still fits. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. So do I. 15 years ago, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003 show faced off against Shredder for the very first time. We're all getting old, but not old enough to stop loving the Turtles. Andrew, thanks so much for joining me on Teenage Mutant Ninja Thursday today. Tell everybody about your YouTube channel and how you like this movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I don't know. My YouTube channel is called Andrew Fantasia, and it's just me talking about movies that I see in entertainment news and such. And if you like entertainment, come on down. Trust me, I could use the subscribers. Come on down and pay me a visit, and I'll show you what's playing in theaters right now and all that fun stuff, and what's coming out in the news regarding movies and TV.
What's the next review you're doing, do you know?
Tonight I'm going to go watch Blockers, and I'll have a review up of that hopefully tomorrow afternoon.
And then next week you will be doing a review, probably Saturday morning, of Avengers Infinite War?
Maybe. I don't know if I'm going to... Maybe I'll just wait for Netflix for that one. That doesn't look like it's going to
make $35 at the box office.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it either. All right, guys, thanks.
You know what? Speaking of that, before you cap off, that's actually a good segue from what we've been talking about. I can't wait. If there's anything in Infinity War that I can't wait to see, I can't wait to see Star-Lord come back to Earth since the first time since the 1980s and realize that there's like 200 Ninja Turtles things now, and see how he reacts to that.
Do you think we're gonna get anything like that from Star-Lord in this?
I think we'll get like a Star Wars reference. I think, you know, he'll be like walking through a town or something and see like a BB-8 and be like, "What the hell's that?"
That's a good point. All right, guys.
Yeah.
We'll find out. We'll find out a week today. Most people are seeing it. A week today. A week tomorrow. It comes out officially. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Thursday. If there's anything you want us to talk about, email us at digitalcharcuterie@gmail.com. And until next time, guys, cowabunga.
Gnarly.